Last time on Fairy Tale Chapter 344, Natsu, Gray, Lucy, Wendy, and the Exceeds chased after the treasure hunters to take back the moon drip. But after getting annoyed by being chased at, the treasure hunters, Rara, Hiroshi, and Drake, fight back. And surprise, surprise, they are not useless fodder, seeing that they have magic-resisting weapons and they're capable of holding their own against Fairy Tale.
I especially like that Rara guy fighting Natsu.
Why do you say that?
Because once Natsu said, "I'm all fired up," boom! Talk to the giant hand.
Wow, you must really hate Natsu's catchphrase.
And besides, they might end up like the Gar Knights, being taken down with one hit within like the next chapter or two. Hell, we don't even know all of their names.
Well, what names do you know?
Okay, there's Uosuke, Cosmo, Kurapika.
Okay, first of all, that's Kurapika, and second of all, that's a character from Hunter x Hunter.
Who cares? It's not like we're gonna see the Gar Knights again.
Meanwhile, Erza stayed back at the village investigating how the giants were frozen. She deduces that the eternal flame is at the peak of a mountain that the giants were turning away from it. Once she got to that mountain, there was no eternal flame, but what she discovers is equally shocking. She has turned into a child.
What?
They explain it in this week's chapter.
Oh, okay.
Can Natsu and the others defeat the treasure hunters to obtain the moon drip? Will the moon drip be enough to free the giants and their village? And how did Erza turn into a child? Find out in this week's chapter of Fairy Tale.
Hey guys, Lunar Spyland 27 here, bringing Fairy Tale Chapter 345, Someone's Voice. So the chapter begins with Erza, who's turned into a child. Anyway, Erza is actually having a hard time moving with her body since her movements from when she was an adult were a bit inconsistent to the size that she is in now. She also freaks out over what would happen if she stayed like a child forever. Natsu and Gray might actually win against Erza. Wendy will become like an older sister to her, and Jalal would obviously not hook up with her because, you know, pedo, too awkward. Although for some reason in that panel we saw Doranbolt. He seems interested. I know this is in Erza's imagination, but I don't really picture Doranbolt as the kind of person who's into little girls. If anybody, I would have to say Warren. Meanwhile, back with Natsu and the others, of course, we've seen that the treasure hunters can hold their own against them, but we actually learn more about the treasure hunters. Apparently, their treasure hunting guild were the winners of a tournament called the Great Hidden Treasure Tournament in Fiore, which was being held for all the treasure hunter guilds. So there is a tournament for treasure hunters. Okay, one thing I gotta point out here, I heard that Ichiro Oda, the author of One Piece, and Hiro Mashima are kind of taking jabs against their series. I mean, I heard that in one of the One Piece chapters, they were making fun of Fairy Tale. I don't know which chapter it was. I could be wrong, but I heard that these treasure hunters were taking a jab out of One Piece pirates. And I know that in the recent arc, there is a tournament being held over Ace's Devil Fruit. So, is this another joke against One Piece? I'm asking you guys because I am not caught up to One Piece yet. I'm like on chapter 60 at the moment. I know it's a long way to go, but it's really long, One Piece. Anyway, these three were boasting over their skills and seeing that how they're awesome against this average guild, not knowing that they're Fairy Tale winners of the Grand Magic Games. But Gray actually managed to steal the moon drip with his ice make thieving hand, basically making a hand out of ice. Yeah. Although what I don't understand is, like, when the hell did they get the moon drip? And if you got it at an earlier time, then why waste all the time fighting against the treasure hunters and just head back towards the Tayo village? But still, good job with Gray. Now, Draco's about to fire with his sniper rifle, but that was blocked by Sagittarius. So Hiroshi attacks with his sword. Wait, Gray dodges that attack and he tosses the moon drip to Natsu. Rara attacks with his giant fist, but Natsu dodges that. Then he tosses the moon drip to Lucy. And then his chain blade, which is what Hiroshi calls it, it can turn into a gun. Why does it sound so familiar? Nah, I don't think that comes out as a copy and paste. Or it could be, I don't know. Hiroshi attacks Lucy, which she dodges, of course, and then she tosses. Yes, this is basically a rinse and repeat formula that's been going on. They attack a member of Fairy Tail, they dodge, they toss the moon drip to another member. Okay, so anyway, Wendy now has the moon drip, and she manages to dodge Hiroshi's gunfire. So she tosses the moon drip to Charles, rinse and repeat. Then we get to Happy, and well, nice going, Happy. But then again, it was an honest mistake, and honestly, it was really pointless because in the end, the moon drip only melted a tiny portion of the ice from the ground. So it wasn't even enough to melt the entire Taio village and the giants. So I'm not gonna blame Happy for this. Yeah, it was a mistake, but it wasn't really enough to melt all of the entire village. So I'm not gonna blame Happy on this one. Anyway, all of a sudden Natsu puts his ear on the ground, and he heard someone's voice. It was coming from the part of the ground that was melted with the moon drip. He said that the voice was calling out to them, and he just assumed that the voice was coming from somewhere, so he heads towards wherever the hell the voice was. And now, according to Natsu, he said that he heard the voice somewhere before, but he doesn't know where. Honestly, we don't even know who the voice belonged to or where it came from. All we know is that Natsu heard the voice before. Not sure if this is like a connection to Zaref or any person that we've known, but I guess it will be revealed later on in the next couple of weeks. So the rest of the Fairy Tail members follow Natsu, and of course the treasure hunters follow them because they can't go back empty-handed. Now Natsu is actually back at the Taio village, and he runs into On-Switch Guy, the same guy who was a member of Succubus Eye with Minerva. I don't know his name, but the reason I'm calling him On-Switch Guy because he has an on switch on his head, like I pointed out before. So yeah, he runs into him, and Natsu asks if he was one of the thieves with the treasure hunters, but On-Switch Guy's like, no, I'm no thief. Now return it to those days of distant memory. Yeah, it's been confirmed that the reason why Erza was turned into a child in last week's chapter, it was because of On-Switch Guy. He was all of a sudden surrounded by this aura, and all of a sudden Natsu's turned into a kid too. So first Erza and now Natsu. And then the chapter ends with On-Switch Guy saying, things are a lot more fun when you're a kid. And that is where the chapter ends. So that is Fairy Tail chapter 345. What did I think? Well, it was basic chapter. I mean, it wasn't like the best chapter ever, but it wasn't that bad. It was actually decent, I will say. Now, we learned that On-Switch Guy was the one who turned Erza into a kid, and now he's turned Natsu into a kid. So, does this mean that Natsu and Erza can still use their magic, even though they're now kids? I think they can, but then again, if Erza can actually equip into her armor, which I highly doubt she could because all of her armor is not her size anymore, it would be pretty awkward seeing a naked young Erza as a child when she equips into her armor. I'm just saying. I just hope Hiro Mashima doesn't even go to that extent when it comes to fan service. Please. Now, why is On-Switch Guy turning the Fairy Tail members into kids? I don't know. It's probably because he assumes that they're easier to take them down when they're children. But then again, we don't even know their power levels at the moment. Since Erza is incapable of moving with her body at the moment because she's no longer used to moving as a child since she was an adult, which by the way, I've never actually seen that done in anime, so I'll give kudos to Hiro Mashima for that part. Maybe their powers won't be as strong as they were when they were adults, now that they're children. This was done before, wasn't it? I mean, I heard this was done in a One Piece movie. But then again, we still don't know like what Succubus Eye is up to in this village. Maybe they're the ones that froze the giants and the entire village. Maybe they're also after the Eternal Flame. I just hope next week's chapter will learn more about their plans and what's responsible for the giants and the village being frozen. I'm also curious with the voice, where that's coming from, but we probably won't know that for a while. I was impressed with the treasure hunters, although I really hope this isn't gonna end up like they're not going to end up like the Gar Knights, as I said before in the recap. Oh, also to point things out, when I made fun of the catchphrase, I will admit there were characters do have catchphrases. Some that are pretty cool, some that were annoying. Natsu's catchphrase, I didn't actually like. I don't like his catchphrase that much anymore, especially now that Loxus said it like months ago. And yes, I'm still mad about that. Okay, next week's chapter will be called Retrogression Magic. I'm assuming that's what On Switch Guy's type of magic is. I think, I'm not sure. Maybe we'll get to learn how he did his magic, how he turned Erza and Natsu into kids, and maybe there's a way that they could change back. Maybe it's got something to do with the Eternal Flame, I don't know. But we'll just have to wait and see in next week's chapter. So overall, as I said before, this chapter was decent. Not the best chapter I've read, but it was okay. So yeah, that was Fairy Tail chapter 345. I'm Lunar 27, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.